This video shows the real military power comparison between the United States and Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Let's start with the soldiers. The United States deployed a massive force of over 2.7 million soldiers throughout the conflict. Facing them, Vietnam mobilized a formidable force of more than 1 million soldiers, bolstered by countless dedicated guerrilla fighters who knew the terrain like the back of their hand. When it came to standard-issue firearms, U.S. soldiers were equipped with modern rifles, like the gas-operated M16 and the powerful M14. These were cutting-edge weapons for their time. On the other side, Vietnamese fighters primarily relied on the famously durable AK-47 and older, but still effective, Soviet block rifles like the SAS. For sustained fire, America brought heavy firepower to the battlefield with machine guns like the M60, known as the Pig, and the legendary Browning M2 heavy machine gun. In response, Vietnam used lighter, more mobile machine guns, often supplied by their allies, such as the RPD and the PK machine gun, which were perfect for hit-and-run tactics. In terms of explosives, U.S. troops carried standard fragmentation grenades and the light anti-tank weapon, or law rockets, for taking out armored targets. Vietnam countered this with their own iconic rocket-propelled grenade launchers, the RPG-22 and the more advanced RPG-27, which became feared weapons against both tanks and low-flying helicopters. On to ground, the U.S. leveraged its industrial might, deploying heavy M48 Patton tanks and a vast fleet of armored personnel carriers to move troops and dominate open terrain. Vietnam's armored forces were much smaller, primarily using Soviet-made T-54 and T-55 tanks, which were often reserved for major offensives and the final assaults on cities. In the air, American dominance was nearly absolute. The skies were filled with B-52 Stratofortress bombers, versatile F-4 Phantom jets, and F-105 Thunderchef fighter bombers. This air armada gave the U.S. the power to strike anywhere, anytime. Vietnam's air force was comparatively tiny, with a small number of Soviet-made MiG-17 and supersonic MiG-1 jets. They couldn't challenge American air superiority directly, but they used these jets skillfully in a defensive role, creating a threat that U.S. pilots had to respect. Another key element of American strategy was the helicopter. Fleets of UH-1 Hueys became a symbol of the war, transporting troops, supplying fire bases, and evacuating the wounded. Specialized attack helicopters provided close air support. For Vietnam, helicopters were a rarity. They had almost no helicopter force to speak of and had to find ways to combat America's air mobility from the ground. This leads us to sheer firepower. The United States dropped an almost unbelievable 7 million tons of bombs on Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, more than all the bombs dropped by all sides in World War II. This included devastating weapons like napalm and cluster bombs. Vietnam, lacking a strategic bombing capability, couldn't match this. Instead, their strategy was rooted in ground tactics, survival, and endurance. To counter the American air threat, Vietnam developed one of the most sophisticated air defense networks in the world. It was a dense web of anti-aircraft guns and, crucially, Soviet-supplied surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs. While U.S. aircraft were equipped with advanced radar and electronic countermeasures, the Vietnamese defenses still managed to shoot down thousands of American planes, shocking military analysts. This difference highlights the core strategic divide. America relied on its technological superiority, firepower, and conventional, open-field combat tactics. In stark contrast, Vietnam masterfully used its environment, creating vast networks of underground tunnels for shelter and movement, and perfecting the art of the jungle ambush. Guerrilla warfare was central to the Vietnamese strategy. They used simple, yet terrifyingly effective traps, like hidden punji stick pits, and improvised handmade explosives. These tactics were designed to wear down the morale of U.S. soldiers, who were constantly on edge. While U.S. forces developed advanced detection methods, the jungle and the tunnel systems often made it impossible to find their hidden enemies. The human cost of this conflict was immense. The United States lost more than 58,000 soldiers, a painful scar on the nation's psyche. But for Vietnam, the toll was catastrophic. With estimates of over 3 million military and civilian deaths, it was a price of unimaginable scale. In the end, despite its technological and military superiority, the United States withdrew its forces in 1973. 2 years later, in 1975, North Vietnam achieved its goal, and the country was unified. This war served as a powerful and tragic lesson that weapons and technology do not decide wars alone. It proved that the will of the people and the power of determination can, at times, overcome even the greatest military machine on Earth. Thanks for watching. If you found this comparison insightful, please like and subscribe for more content.